Hello there everyone, this is iMark3 and welcome back to Timberborn, World Domination Simulator where you play the beavers. It's always the aquatic mammals that you least expect. And let me get my hood back, there we go. So yeah, that's one of the things this game does, it actually gives you a button to remove the hood as well. So it lets you get set up some nice looks at around the place to see what's happening kind of deal. But yes, welcome back to Timberborn. There was totally no mispronunciation going on at all at the end of the previous episode. Not at all, not one. I don't know what you're talking about. Shush. And since I totally plan to try and edit that out, unless I completely forget, there will be nothing happened. I did not accidentally mispronounce a letter. I'm not even sure how that would work. Anyway, moving on. Yes, I am sure I want to delete that building. Don't worry, there is a better way to delete, but I'm not doing that right now because I'm just getting stuff started. So yes, welcome back to Timberborn. We are harvesting our first crop of carrots. We're still just fine. If we were in hard mode, we would have been deep into our first drought by now. And the dam would have saved our lives because we got it up so quickly. But yeah, details. Moving on. Hey, level 6. You see, getting your... Well, basically, you just need a social place, housing, and your first crop type to even unlock the next faction. So, the Iron Teeth you can unlock basically as soon as you prove to the game that you know the very basics of how to actually start a society in this with your city, and that's all it needs. So yeah. Anyway, moving on. I'm gonna pause these two lumber flags because I have plans for this. I have nefarious plans. I have evil plans. No, I don't. This game doesn't let you be evil, really. It's... I do have a thought. It's just I want to... Well, they're full of wood. That's the issue. Then again, my log storage is actually full, so never mind. Oh, well, I need the beavers for something. Anyway, moving on. I'm going to build these guys. And just for the sake of it, I guess I'm going to whack them out here. So I'll put one down there, and I will attach these two. Yes, and these are inventors. These are research houses. They generate research points, which accumulates up here in science. You know how I am. I always do things for science, and you can spend those points to unlock all the other structures deeper in the game. So the vast majority of your structure options are locked off behind research points, and you need to accumulate those to get access to the deeper things. So yeah, this is what I meant in the first video by saying like late game, mid game, yada yada. There is an advanced material in this game called metal blocks, which the Iron Teeth need for their most advanced, their advanced option for power generation. Don't worry, we're going to get power generation in this episode. The thing is, metal blocks are here, and they are produced by a shredder, which shreds scrap, which is over here. There is only a finite amount of scrap, but there is a decent amount for the amount you'll usually need to build your little beaver village. But these are ruins from the human society before. Scattered throughout the land, decrepit human ruins provide beavers with the unimaginable, a resource superior to wood. Say it isn't so. The problem is you actually need a new scavenger flag for that as well. So you're looking at a 550 research point investment just to get access to that. But then, beyond that, the problem is that these guys also require gears to build your shredder, so you need to go into your wood and you need to get wooden gears available, which is an extra 100. So that's 650 research points, and that's if you go there directly. 650 research points, that is a tall order, especially straight out the gate. So yeah, you're not going to get access to metal blocks for quite a while. Yeah, that's still pretty good. That one's empty though, I'll delete that one. Yes. Moving on. So yeah, that's what I mean, like it's really hard to get to. But in terms of power, we unlock the high power shaft. This particular faction gets access to a windmill, which only needs wooden planks, which you actually start with the ability to create. So lumber mill is available straight out the gate, and that's why these guys have like a better early to mid game power options. The Iron Teeth don't get windmills. Instead, they have a engine which burns logs as fuel for a big chunk of power, but it requires metal blocks to build it and gears and a very resource intensive kind of thing for a very dense power structure which just needs to be fueled. And yeah, but these guys, windmills, definitely an alternative option. But the thing is, they don't provide that much power and they are only semi-reliable, as in the power they output varies as well. So they aren't a perfect swap kind of thing. And I love that. The factions having their own traits is so good. In fact, I actually have you can tell I'm invested in the game if I start thinking about options for it, because I actually have a blueprint thought out for a faction of my own design called the Swankin, which is basically a faction that orients itself around water and the benefits and aesthetics of water. And I think it would be a good one. But the thing is, I don't have the nerve to try and post that kind of thing, and I also don't know if the developers are looking for suggestions on that kind of thing. But I've seen on the Steam discussion that people have been suggesting a few basic random ideas for factions as well. But I don't know. I guess I'll have a look back and see if the developers actually responded to any of that. When I had a look before, they had not, I will admit. Ah. Okay. Are you actually done? You are actually done. Okay. Yeah, I've got all the logs I can get from this area. Noted. Which means that my last remaining wood supply is down here, so it's time to get a move on. So, I've got 60 science points. I could just go straight for getting gears. Forester, 60 points is actually the cost of a forester, so that is actually a really solid one to get. But for me, there are two techs I would suggest getting right out the gate. Order doesn't really matter too much. But I think the more useful order is actually, instead of 60 points for a forester, save that and get the forester as your second pick. For the first pick, I would suggest actually going into decoration and picking up shrub. Now, what is this madness, Iron Mark III? Why are you suggesting shrub? Are you wanting to decorate your settlement with potted plants of all things? What silly nonsense is this? And I am actually being quite serious here. Shrub, I recommend very highly, because it costs a mere 20 points. Lets you spend 12 logs, and at this point we have a surplus of logs. So, you know, it's not a hard ask, especially since you don't, because of the way the satisfaction metrics work in this game. It's a very, very cheap tech and cheap structure it unlocks for the effect it gives. So I'll unlock that for 20 points. And now what does it do? We go into our well-being, we check our stats, we go down to aesthetics, plus 10% work speed. 10% work speed. Available for 12 logs. Work speed is normally tied behind things like knowledge, which is a mid/late game thing because it requires paper. So a bunch of stuff to get there. Spirituality, same kind of thing. I mean, if we look, let's see, the not that one. I think it was in the entertainment. Yeah, here it goes. Temple. 300 science, then a whole bunch of lumber and refined lumber in the form of planks to get it. So that's a bit deeper in. Nutrition doesn't actually do work speed. In this case, it's life expectancy for nutrition, things like that. So, you know, they can be useful in other ways, but it's not the same thing. Work speed in general is like how long it takes to actually plant a crop, how long it takes to harvest them, how long it takes to cut down a tree, how quickly research buildings generate science. You know, all that kind of goodness. Aesthetics gives you a flat 10% bump. So that's why it's really worth it to try and chase as many of these parameters as you can get. And as you can see, like I don't quite give my beavers enough time for social, so it's slightly down. But it's also like it's slightly later in the game as well. So that is also a thing. But anyway, yeah. Why do I recommend the shrub? It gives a 3x3 area of influence. Now, as I said, like being away from the influence means that the bar slowly decreases, so it lingers a while. But the thing is, it's also infectious, is the way I term it. What do I mean? Well, if it was just these tiles, you see this campfire here, right? If I wanted to cover this thing, I would need 3 of these, 1 on each wall, to make sure I covered all of the tiles there, the 5 spots where the beavers can sit. But I don't. I can just put a shrub down, and the base of the entire thing highlights. And what that means is, so long as the beaver is in that structure, they are gaining for their aesthetics requirement. So yeah, that is very good. And yes, that means I can just put it on a house, and then overnight they build up aesthetics, and then they go out in the morning and they have that bonus for as long as it lingers. But another good idea as well is to attach it to a work structure. Like if I put it next to this pump, I get more water out of it. If I put it on the flag, it doesn't really work because the beavers go away from the flag so much that it only works if they're actually sitting on the flag like that. So flags are a poor choice usually. But it does help when they come into the flag, drop off whatever they've harvested, and then go again. So it's like a little top-up kind of thing. But structures where they sit in the actual building itself, it can offer a really solid boost. So that's why I built these off the path, so I can just stick a little shrub in it, right there. And then this will boost my research output and get me science points a bit faster. My farm is active, so I'm actually going to plant one of these right here as well. And this will affect that. It'll also affect the social, so that'll help. And I'll also go ahead and put down a shrub down here. I'm thinking of replacing this with a water pump here, so I'll put this there. So when I put another water pump down and next to it, it'll get both of them. So, you know, it's just a really cheap little thing, but it's still a solid bonus to actually try and get for. In fact, because I don't need berries anymore, beavers eat berries as a last resort. I'm going to pause this berry gather flag just to free up the beaver so I can assign the beaver elsewhere. Because I have plans for the beaver. Yes, I have plans. And my plan is that I'm going to build some temporary infrastructure next. Let's see, let's get 2 more builders. That leaves 2 beavers free. These guys aren't able to harvest. They are operating as haulers at the moment, so I'll pause them as well. So, a bunch of free beavers. And I'm going to start getting my first power structure going. And yes, this is prime cropland. Normal wisdom is avoid that and get stuff out here if possible. And I might do that, but I'm not quite sure where I want to put this stuff in the end, though. So that's why I'm thinking temporary measure. And I might as well do it now. Kind of deal. And that is my first power structure. As you can see, it is a water wheel, of all things. So I'm going to pop it here. Yep. These are kind of expensive, 50 wood. So they are definitely an investment. Especially early on. I mean, 50 wood out for my couple of hundred. That's like a fifth of my wood going into that. Then I get a lumber mill, which I can plug straight into it, like that. Yep. Not too shabby so far. But I'm also going to get slightly tricksy here, because I'm going to put the path down, of course, like that. And I'm also going to put a path down here. That's a lie. I'm going to put the path down there. My bad. And I'm just going to get rid of this path here. There we go. So, got that right. And I'm going to move on with my impromptu explanation of power, because I have heard that there is some misinformation going around on YouTube about this. But Basically, power is transmitted through shafts that connect into the building. The thing is, though, what you're looking for is a very helpful pop-up, which is that little blue cog appears in line over quite a distance, actually. And it tells you that where you're pointing at can actually accept a power connection, and then power will transmit through that and any directly connected buildings to elsewhere. So if I put an input here and an output on this side, power can go straight through connected buildings. Same goes for houses, the construction centre. The farm can't, right? Because it just doesn't accept it. The water pump can't. But some people have been miscommunicating about exactly what's what, so that's why I figured I'd mention that there, just to be clear. If you watch for the blue cog thing, you can connect a power system to it. Just get rid of those. So I've got that there. I'm going to prioritise getting that thing because I'm about to cut it off. Also, power shafts are really cheap usually. The exception being a vertical transfer, which is an unlockable anyway because that requires cogs, which is actually a mid-level resource. But yeah, I'm also, as a backup for when we hit dry season, I'm going to include a power wheel, which is one of the more amusing things in this game. Yes, it costs me 40 wood, so it's almost as much. It's only 50 horsepower versus 180 horsepower. But this is basically a hamster wheel. So yeah, if you want to, you can use manual power generation and get your little beavers to run around in an oversized hamster wheel. And I find that highly amusing. The problem is it's not a good one for general use because it costs you a beaver, as it ties up completely. There's no way to automatically, like, if they're not needed, they wander off and do something else. No, if you have the building active, they're running constantly. So that's a bit of a drawback. That might be a nice factional option later if you have something like a flagged water wheel. If the system it's connected to has enough horsepower, then it's idle and the beaver in it becomes a hauler. But if it's not enough, a flagpole pops up with a red flag on it, and the beaver comes back and actually activates the power wheel. That might be a good alternative for a faction somewhere. Not for the Swankin that I mentioned, by the way. That's not quite up their alley, I think. But it's a potential option for a slightly different power wheel to make manual labour more easy to manage, because otherwise you have to manually turn the power wheel on and off the whole time. So, you know, not great. Not great. I'm also checking. Yes, my housing's okay. Yes, my food's okay. We should be growing enough crops, of course, for 60 beavers. But notice, of course, it's not constant, and that's because it goes down by like 30 roughly every time, but it can only hold 50. So they actually harvest and then they stop, and then they go back and harvest again. So that's where storage requirements come in. And this is going to be another criticism, honestly. I am sorry. If the game dev hits this is constructive criticism, and also welcome to my video. I'm a fan of your work. Please, please, please let me twist your values to my whims and tell you how to make your game. Yes! No. This is constructive criticism. So, let's get a storage out. I'm going to put it in the dry zone because that's where I want it, and I think this is going to be my industrial hub as my first neighborhood as well. So I'm going to put it, I think, yeah, let's pop it here. So that's going to be a storage. I'm going to pop another storage and another 2 storages next to it. Yes, there is a reason I'm putting down so many storages, because this is how I like to do it. So that's 4. For total storage, I'm going to build 8 probably. But for now, 4 is going to be fine, and I might build them up later. But yeah, first criticism, which is something that we don't really need to check on because it's not going to pop up right now, and that is building these storages. If they hit maximum resources, they get a big glowy icon above them, like this. Yeah. So it's like, hey, this storage is full. The problem comes when you add that to building stacking. Also, look at that. Hamster wheel! Yay! Pause that because I don't need it because we've got the main power wheel currently going. So yeah, they are currently busy with finding a way. I'll also give them a shrub next to them as well. So there we go. Right. The problem is, if you put another building on top of it, like you build a house on top of it, then it actually transfers upwards into the stack. So the top building gets the thing. And what I wish there was is an option in here to say, don't flag it if it's full. Because I don't want to know. I don't want to see it. But that said, if I turn the hood off... Oh, good. If you turn the hood off, it does disappear. That's good. But I wish there was an option to turn it off directly. So I could say it, don't flag this particular structure if it's full. That'd be nice. Next one, which is now applicable because this one's complete, is... I also wish there was an option to say, build this with everything blocked. Because as it is, as soon as you build a warehouse, everything's allowed, and it automatically tries to fetch 20 of every resource. This is actually a common thing that games do, so this is not individual to this game. I just really wish there was an option to build a warehouse and it had the thing saying, it doesn't allow anything until I configure it. Maybe have a pop-up appear above its head saying, hey, this warehouse is set to accept nothing. Are you sure this is how you want it? And by that I mean another one of these little things just flash up, not like a big warning box on the screen. Maybe if this had a little button above it that, which is like, if you click this checkbox, it builds set to hold nothing. That might be a good idea. Just a little thing on top of the UI for a storage building. If you have this selected, this storage will be set to hold nothing when you place it. But anyway, yeah. Rant over, / constructive criticism, / desires, / hey, do what I say, over. Let's move on. So this guy is going to hold my carrots. So this is extra carrot storage. So this is hold a whole bunch of carrots. Jolly good. As a note, by the way, the beavers are in the farms, always empty into the farmhouse, and then they go looking for other storage. So they won't prioritise going to this different storage. This one, I'll say no. And I'll tell you to house, for me, berries. I admit, berries are slightly less useful for this faction than they are for the Iron Teeth. Because the Iron Teeth, they actually use berries to help breed their babies. These guys only use berries for food. So, you know, there is that. Grilled potatoes, of course, is the next one. So that's housed in there. Then this last one is going to house bread. Yes, I know, I don't have access to bread or anything like that yet. But I'm just putting these down now so I have them in place. And then I won't forget later. As soon as I get the food sources developed, I'll be able to just go ahead and it'll sort it. And oh, here we go. Our first warning. Right. None. And I want you to house the bread. There we go. Note, by the way, that this has actually severely depleted our wood stocks. And this is something I should have done sooner, but I was distracted by talking and demonstrating and things like that. So yeah, I'll get rid of this flag as well. I will also go ahead and plant down just a set of these guys, lumberjack flags. And they should be harvesting that area across the river. Oh no, I never set it. Never mind. Okay, let's set that now. Correct that. Get all those juicy trees harvesting. So there we go. Just get things moving. And that's because I want to actually turn this side of the river into my tree harvesting area. Also, as you notice, like the farm is more active, and that's because there's extra storage space to start housing all the carrots and things. So, you know, it's going well. That said, the lumber mill has actually stopped because it's not got any logs in it. I was going to say because it's full of planks. No. Very limited storage on the actual production structures here, so you do want extra storage for things like lumber mills, planks, and stuff like that. So that's something worth paying attention to. But, yeah. Anyway, another quick lesson is that a seedling that's growing like this, right? If you do something like, say, plant a farm field across it, then beavers have to come and manually remove it. Same as if you plant for a different tree type, and these dead seedlings as well. So if I was to try and grow trees around here or anything like that, then workers would have to come out and clear things and then plant. But you can take a path, you can just build over it, like that. Just get rid of all those tree stumps. Yep. And then you can go into delete. Now, here's another little hint here. If you delete manually, even if you click and drag, it flashes up saying destroy selected objects. Right? So it warns you every single time. So you're probably wondering right now, why didn't it do that earlier? Now that's because if you use shift, you can actually bypass that completely. And it'll let you just keep on deleting as much as your heart desires. So yeah, if you want the delete tools to be slightly more usable, hold shift. Unfortunately, you can't just delete them directly, so that's why you have to put the path down. So yeah, another little hint there for you. Oh, I am being an informative jerk today, aren't I? Anyway, moving on. Let's see, we've got 15 people right now. We're mostly okay. The problem is they're all adults, so I actually want to get my housing to grow a little bit too, so let's pop a couple of houses in there. Once again, building over. I mentioned dead seedlings, by the way, because they are seedlings just like the ones over here in the live section. The thing is, you can't build over a live seedling, but you can build over a dead seedling in a that's just dried out and died. So that's another distinction just there that I was double checking before I mentioned it. So that's why I can't just build a path like that. There's a live seedling in the way, which I am actually going to kill. So bye bye. I want to put a path where you are. Tough luck. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Moving on. What I'm doing right now is, as I said, I wanted to set up to get an eventual forestry area going over this way. But we're actually running short on logs, and that's because I haven't really prioritized this yet, and I should have done. And I should have prioritized getting forestry going because trees are slow. They are very slow to grow. Even the fastest growing one is 9 days. 9 entire days to get a birch tree, which gives you 1 log. We can check the stats down here, actually. And yes, the building that plants your trees actually plants blueberry bushes as well, so that's how you can manually set where to grow blueberries. But yeah, a birch tree, 9 days for 1. A pine, 12 days for 2. And a maple, 24 days for 8. But that 24 days wait is massive. Ugh. And honestly, that's one of the points being criticised a lot in the comments and things at the moment, and the feedback on this game. It's like, people often get stuck waiting for lumber very, very easily. And yeah, it is actually it can throw up this massive roadblock in progress of the game. What I'm doing right now, by the way, is looking at the range on this thing, and I'm going to put it there, so it can reach the very edge of the water here. So that is, it's definitely way out here, but it's going to be covering a lot of area. But yeah, these things work radially. Beavers work on a radius. They harvest grown trees first, not lumbering trees. They don't respond to the lumber targeted areas. They work actual tree fields that you've set. They harvest first, then they go and plant. That is their order. You can't manually alterate them, from what I've seen. I would like if you could set that, like in the farm, but maybe that'll come in later. Who knows? But yeah. One way of doing it is if you have the slow-growing stuff nearby, and then the pines further out, and then birches at the edge, just so that beavers aren't running back and forth to get a massive load of logs. That's the general idea, I think. But it's debatable how much you actually want to do that. But for me, though, I like to set down like a field of pines first, because, you know, hey, you have to wait 3 more days, but you double the output. So 30% more growth time, double output. Sounds really good to me. But I don't lay these things all at once, because otherwise the circle effect kicks in and stuff like that. So I prefer to do this field by field. Though it also depends on exactly what else is going on as well. But I'm afraid we're actually out of time for this episode. So this has been Iron Mark 3. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying the show and this little trip into Timberborn. Next episode, we are going to have our drought hitting, and you'll see the changes to the landscape. Admittedly, it won't be that drastic because of the nature of the river in this map. So you don't see much green anyway, but this is going to be the most obvious change bit up here. On other maps with bigger water courses and things like that, it is way, way more striking. I think this is honestly the worst map I could have picked to show how striking the difference can be between a wet season / dry season cycle. I should have thought of that before I started, but oh well. Yeah, see you all later.